Welcome to Liz's Scrapping Studio. Thanks for joining me. So today I wanted to recreate a layout from our current Close to My Heart January-March catalog, which the first layout that I am going to make from this catalog is actually on page 9 of the catalog, and it's this layout here. One of the things that I really struggle with sometimes is design. I'm not as creative as some of the people out there, and when I look at the catalog I see all these great designs, but there aren't any really maps for them or instructions for them, and I realized that I was pretty good about being able to figure out sizes and design and putting these layouts together. So I thought, you know, why do I struggle so much with trying to create my own designs when I've got these great designers who have put the catalogs together and have created some really cool layouts that I can just essentially scrap lift. So this is the layout that I'm going to start with scrap lifting. This is with the set Are We There? Are We There Yet? Pack of paper. And whenever you see a layout like this, it will be featuring something within the catalog. So this particular layout is featuring this stamp and thin cut die set. And this stamp and thin cut die set is an additional purchase that you can make, and these stamps and dies are actually quite large when you look at them. So the pieces on these are really quite big, and you are able to get the dies that go with it as well. And it also has this tag die, the one that's here that shows come away from me, which is up here at the top. And so it's actually got a really useful die cut that will create a tag for you if you don't have that already in your stash. But you could also create this without using the stamps and die cuts. And the reason I say that is that with this this paper pack or paper, there is a sticker sheet. And this sticker sheet, and I've cut up some of this paper already to prep for today so you can see little pieces of my leftover scraps here. But this sticker sheet does have things like the suitcases, right? It has the camera. It actually has a couple of different cameras. We are actually going to use the compass that's part of this. And we can use some of these other titles. So instead of our getaway title, you could use Are We There Yet? Or Enjoying the View, or The Adventure Begins, right? So you can use any of these other titles in place of this one if you're not a stamper, or if you don't really particularly want this stamp set. You can still make this layout just using the stickers and the paper packet as well. The other thing you could do is take a look at the Picture My Life cards, and these are again an additional purchase, but it doesn't require you to get into stamping and have the inks and have a die cutting machine or hand trim these. So if you didn't want those, you could get the Picture My Life cards. And again, in the Picture My Life cards, you can just fussy cut out this stack of suitcases, and you could use either side. There's two sides on that. There's also a big suitcase here as well in the big side saying Born to Travel, so again you can add that. All of these things are ways that you can kind of tailor this particular layout to your needs or to the things that you want to buy. The last thing that is part of this, there is a little sticker here, which are these add-on rubber pieces or rubber embellishments. And so you could also just use these. You could use a couple of these in place of that, including with the stickers. So lots of opportunities to just see what are the things that you actually want to purchase, or the things that are part of these paper packs already. Oh, lastly, the paper, one of the papers in this paper pack is a bunch of suitcases, right? So we have a bunch of suitcases here. So another option is that you could cut out suitcases from this paper and use those versus the stamps that are listed here, and you will get a great look. Not be slightly different, but it will be a very nice look instead, just by cutting out some of these suitcases and using those instead from the paper packet. All right, so how do I go about making the decision or figuring out how I'm going to actually make this layout? This one, I will say, was a little bit more trial and error than maybe some of them. Generally, when I look at a layout like this, I try to find something that I can look at or latch onto that I am pretty sure the size. What is the width and the length of that paper? This one was a little bit harder because I didn't really have a way to latch onto anything, so it was a little bit of trial and error. Now, as part of this, I did go into Design Space in particular, though that doesn't really matter per se, and I actually drew up this layout. And I'm hoping that you guys can see that there. And this layout is the measurements of all of the pieces of paper that I have gone with to make this one-page layout. So, as an example, this honey butter paper here is this strip of paper right here that says 11, or let's see, 1 1/4 by 9 1/2. So it's 1 1/4 wide, 9 1/2 long. And then this paper is this next one that's sort of in the orangey color, and that's 2 1/8 inches wide by 7 1/4 inches long. So what I've tried to do is I've tried to put out the measurements and then lay this out in a way that you'll be able to use this and recreate this from my measurements so that you don't have to try and do that. Now, this picture in particular is also not quite a 4x6 picture. This picture is roughly, from what I've been able to work out, I roughly said it's about a 2, actually I think I have that measurement wrong, 2 1/2 by 5 1/2. So we'll take a look at that and we'll see about placing that. The other thing I did is I don't do a whole lot of single page layouts. Now I'm going to make this single page layout, but I've also worked up a double page layout for this particular So what I've done is I have created a double page layout using this as the base. So this left side is going to be on the left side of the paper, and I've got 3 photos there. And then on the right side, I've moved this block over to the right side and added 2 photos on the right side. So these are sketches that I've created that I will link down below, so that if you are interested in getting my sketches and recreating this, you can do that. All right, so we are going to start creating this particular layout, and I will keep this sort of to the side so that you guys can see it and we can work from there. And I will get the rest of my supplies and I will be right back. I've got my supplies, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off the zip strip on my paper here. Now these zip strips are about a half an inch, but of course it's printed paper, so it can be off, and this one's a little bit less than half an inch right now, so I'm just making sure that I pull that off, and I'm going to set the zip strip aside to use on another project. Now that I've got that out, I'm going to go ahead and pull over the left side of my page here, the pieces that I've cut. as I said, I have all of these documented out on that page that I showed you. So if I pull that up, it's going to tell me the differences between the left side and the right side of this layout. And it's going to tell me that I need to, I'm also putting how far down from the top of the page that these pieces should sit. All right, so I've got the what do we call this? This is, I guess, a hero paper where we've got all of the various different locations in the world. That's at the bottom. Then we have the suitcase paper, which is right here. Then I have a piece of papaya right there. And then the last piece is this honey butter paper here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this over here on my Versamat, and I'm going to make sure that I've got it on that so that I can see my grid, so that I can try and keep everything lined up as best as I can. And I am going to start just layering these papers down. So because of the way that these are, they're going to be slipping in behind each other. So I just do want to be careful about how I am laying these down. So the yellow paper, the yellow honey butter paper, I am saying is about 1.25 inches down from the top. So 1.25 inches would be right about here. Okay. Then the next piece of paper that layers underneath that is the papaya paper, and the papaya paper I'm saying is going to be about 1/4 inch down from the top. And if you notice, the papaya paper is coming all the way to the edge. It's all the way to the edge over here in this on this paper, on this base page. So again, if I lay that one down like so, and butt it all the way up against the edge. Both of these are up against the edge. It's going to look a little bit like that. Okay. Then I have my suitcase paper, and that's going to go underneath here, and that's going to sit right up again at the top here. And I am going to, I'm just looking up here, and these are at the same height. Okay, and then my last piece of paper is going to be this piece, which is going to go here, like so. Now I'm just dry laying this so that I get, I'm just double checking that I like what I'm seeing, and that I'm happy with my reveals, that I'm happy with my placement, and that everything is looking okay. And overall, I'm pretty happy with this. So now that I'm pretty happy with how this looks, I can then start gluing all of this down. And I'm going to just use my Tombow Air adhesive to start gluing this down. The first piece I'm actually going to start with is going to be this papaya piece, and then I'm going to layer under and on top of that papaya piece. So I'm going to take all of this off, and I'm not going to put adhesive directly along the edge here, because I know I'm going to be tucking things underneath this, and I just want to make sure that I give myself space for that tucking. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come down 3/4 inch, and then I'm going to butt this right up against the edge of that paper, like so. Then the next piece I'm going to take is going to be my yellow or my honey butter paper, and I'm going to come and I'm going to put adhesive on that. Again, making sure my paper stays in place here. And I'm going to put this at 1.25 inches down. And the nice thing about this Versamat is that it is marked every 1/4 inch, And so I can get this placed very precisely with that. All right, so my next piece is the paper with the suitcases on it. And we're going to slide that underneath this piece here. And I probably could have made this a little bit smaller, a little bit narrower, but again, I was just playing around and trying to see what would work. And then my last piece is going to be all of the location paper. And actually I needed to slide that underneath, so let's pull that up. We're gonna put this one down first, and then we'll put the other one underneath it. And remember, we're trying to slide all of these pieces down, so you don't want to stick them down too hard, because you are trying to get all of these pieces underneath each other too. All right, so I want this one, we want this to come over just a little bit more, so we're going to just lift this up just a little bit more so we can slide this in, and we want to keep it straight as possible. Okay, I think that looks good. And then we'll put this piece back in again. Just like that. Okay, so that is our left side. We've got our left side down. So now the right side, we also need to do the same thing. So we've got a couple of pieces of paper for the right side. I'm just making sure everything is showing. We're going to just slide ourselves just a little bit so that you can see that right side a little bit better. There we go. I think that'll be a little better for you to see. All right, so we've got a piece of papaya here. We've got, again, the location paper. We've got the honey butter paper here. We have a little strip, and that's actually the strip that they've used is a piece of this postal paper. And then we've got some tags here as well. So you can either use this paper, which is a little piece that I cut that matches, or you can use the postal paper from the zip strip. All right, so let's lay this out. So in this case, we're going to start with the papaya paper here on the far right hand side. So we'll just move these guys off to the side here. And we're going to go ahead and lay this down. And my measurements for that one is I wanted it 3 1/4 down from the top. So we would just count 1, 2, 3 1/4. And again, this is going to be butted right up against, oops, I shifted it just a little bit. Just make sure our paper is lined up. 1, 2, 3 1/4. So right about there. And we'll put that down gently. And then this paper goes on the top, so we're going to go ahead and, again, this butts up right up against the edge here, like that. Then we have our location paper, and we're going to put that at 2 inches down. So 2 inches is right about there. And luckily I've got this nice little line arrow that's actually marking it for me. And I'm going to set that right about there. So this is not precise, right? This is not necessarily 100% precise. It's going to be close, and it's going to mimic the page, but it's not 100% precise. And don't try to make it that way. You'll drive yourself crazy. So close enough, right? Getting it straight, making sure your pieces are straight, making sure they're roughly mirroring the sketch or the inspiration is going to be good enough. No one's going to know that yours isn't exactly the same. All right, so the next piece that we need to put on is this piece that has our photo. And the photo that I'm using is a photo of me and my daughter and my husband in Italy. And this was in a little town in Italy, in the Florence region, which was one of the hill towns in Florence. We went there as a family trip with some friends of ours who rented a villa. It sounds fancier than it is. Rented a villa, and then we did a lot of touring around town. And so around these little hill towns in Italy. And this was one of those little hill towns. I believe this was Siena, if I remember correctly. I have to go back and look. So I said that this picture should be about 2.5 by 5.5. And the way I came around that is I was looking at the distance here and trying to figure out how much was actually showing of all of that picture. And I think it needs to be just a little bit wider, and I think I want it a little bit wider. I'm going to just double check where 2.5 sits. Yeah, I think I can go a little bit wider than 2.5. So I think I'll make an adjustment on my photo there. And I think I'm gonna do this at 3 inches. And I'm not really losing much on this photo with the 3 inches. So I'm going to take that at 3 inches, and then I'm going to cut this down to, so 5.5 is what I had as the length. So I'm going to take a smidge off the top there. I don't want to lose too much of that tower, but I'll take a smidge off the top, and then I'll take the rest from the bottom where our legs are, because we don't need to see all of our legs. We're fine there. Okay, so now I've got a 3 by 5.5. So now I need to take my photo mat, and I want to make that just a little bit bigger. So I want to do 3.25, and I think I want the dark side, yeah, 3.25. So we're going to do 3.25 by 5.25 here. Okay, and that should give us a nice little reveal around that, and it should still work really well with this this photo. And we probably could have made it a little bit bigger, but I think that works really well, not only for that photo, but for that space. All right, so we'll attach the photo now to our mat. And I will adjust my my numbers here. All right, so the other thing that looks like is happening here, which is kind of hard to see probably as you're looking at it, is that this is popped up on 3D foam tape, this photo. So I'm going to grab my 3D foam tape, and we're going to add that to the back here. I do like to cut my 3D foam tape. You can tear it, but I personally like to cut it. I also do leave myself a little bit of space to tuck things in. You'll notice that there are things tucked in over here on the left-hand side, and so I want to make sure that I give myself enough space to do that, so that I'm not fighting with the foam tape and fighting, trying to get these extra pieces tucked in. There's not much tucked in at the bottom or the top, so I'm not so worried about that, but there at the bottom there is. All right, so I'm going to take off all of that foam tape, and we are going to set the picture about a half an inch down from the top of this papaya. So this papaya is sitting at 3 1/4. So we're going to come down to about 3 3/4 on this one. And then we're going to come in a smidge so that we've got that nice, you know what, I think I'm going to say this is going to come down 1/4 inch. I think needs to be about 1/4 inch around the sides there. So again, just making some slight adjustments based off of what I'm seeing. All right, so now we've got that. So the last thing is we've got this this piece here that's sitting right underneath that, and that's about a 3-inch long piece. And so I'm going to just measure this, and I'm going to cut a 3-inch long piece, just like that. And then we're going to tuck that underneath here. Just like that. There we go. All right. So now that we've got that done, now we can start our embellishments. So we have a couple of embellishment clusters. We have one up here in the upper left, we have one kind of here in the middle, and then we have one down here at the bottom. And so I'm going to bring in the pieces I've already cut. Now I have used the stamp set, and the reason I did that is because I wanted to make it exactly like they were showing it on the page. But again, you can use the stickers, you can cut out the paper, you don't have to necessarily do what I'm doing with this. But this is the pieces. So we've got a number of suitcases here that we can use, pulling those out, pulling out the suitcases that we have, and we will then start stacking those up. Now I've cut out some extra ones just in case I want to play around with this a little bit, or add suitcases, or if I'm doing this on if I'm doing a 2-page layout, I want to make sure that I have the same elements on each side of the page. So in this case, we've got a yellow honey butter suitcase, a toffee suitcase, a linen suitcase, and a glacier suitcase. Again, using the colors right up here at the top. That's exactly what I used. All the colors listed there. And then this one is a sticker that we'll pull off from our sticker sheet here in a second. All right, so let's layer these and let's figure out how we want these to look. So again, I want to make sure I'm not covering anything in particular with my photo, on my photo, that is important. And I'm just trying to sort of mimic what they have here a little bit, but adjusting for my photo, the things that are for my photo, or will not make my photo be lost in this particular setting. Okay, so I am going to use thin 3D foam tape. So there's two types of foam tape, thin and thick. I use the thick for the photo, but I think I'm going to use the thin for the suitcases and not the thick. So I'm going to just pull out my thin 3D foam tape. There we go. And we're going to then start layering up these embellishments. And you can use a combination of thin and thick 3D foam tape, which I might do in this case. Just sort of depends on how much bulk you like or don't like. You don't have to use foam tape at all. You could just lay them flat. But in this case, I do think that I like dimension on my page. I like to have that visual interest. And so I do like to put foam tape on my projects. All right. So again, this trip to Italy was a family trip with a few of our family friends, and it was a celebration of our friend's 50th birthday. And these are family friends that we've known since our kids were very young, and it was really fun to hang out for a week in Italy with these. There was actually 4 families that we were hanging out with that my girls are very close in age to their kids, and we were able to have some real fun times hanging out with them as we were exploring Italy as a family, and it was just nice. You know, did things like you know, biking and wine tasting and just hanging out and doing cooking lessons and finding the best balsamic vinegar that we could find at the local grocery stores. And those things are, you know, just fun, just fun activities that we were able to do with this group of folks. All right, so this, I think this particular suitcase I am going to pop up a little bit higher. So I popped up all of those, and this suitcase I am going to use the thick 3D foam tape on. And we're just creating a cluster or layers, as you can see here, of all of these suitcases. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. And we are going to now grab our sticker. So remember, these aren't the stickers, I guess. These are the embellishment pieces. And they're using one of these embellishments here. And I'm just trying to decide, do I need to put that on 3D foam tape as well? I think we're probably okay not doing that, but I probably should have put that on 3D foam tape just so that it mirrored the height of the other ones. And you certainly could do that, but I think it's going to be okay, because these are rubber shapes, so they're a little bit pliable compared to, say, a piece of paper shape or something like that, where it would be a little bit better to probably have it on 3D foam tape. All right, so the next cluster is this cluster right up here. And this cluster up here is 2 tags. And these tags I actually just cut out of that tag thin cut that was part of the stamp set, right? The stamp set that I showed you. There's a thin cut that comes for this tag. So that was how I got these tags. You don't have to use a thin cut for this though. You can just cut out a square and then cut off the corners, and you would have a tag and you would not need that thin cut whatsoever. So you could cut out, or not a square, but a rectangle. You cut out a rectangle, you cut off the corner, you copy that corner to the other side, you lay it on top, and you cut it again, and then you have a perfectly cut die cut tag. So that is, again, an option so that you don't necessarily have to purchase a specific die for this. Now, this we're going to slide in, and we've got the tags at sort of two different levels. I'm actually going to cut this tag down because I want it to slide further in, and I don't need all of it. So I'm going to slide that tag in like that. This tag is supposed to stick out a little bit farther, and then there is a sticker that goes, that is this sticker here. Now that's on the sticker sheet right here. So we're going to pull out the sticker sheet now, and we're going to start using our stickers. So this sticker is the one that we are going to use. I am actually going to take the sticky off of this using a anti-static pouch, and I'm going to do that off the camera because I don't want to get all this powder all over. The reason I want to do this is I'm going to pop this one up as well, and I want to not have all that sticky on it. So all I did was use an anti-static pouch, and again, all of my supplies I'll list down below. All of those will be listed there, but I want to be able to place this where I want to place it, and I want to be able to slide it in and do whatever I want. Now, name and destination. This is something that I would fill in as well. I'm not going to do it right now because I want to get the spelling right, so I'm going to come back and do it very carefully after I put this layout together. But just so you know, that's would be a great use for this. So I'm thinking this tag, when I look at this picture, is still just a little bit too long. So we're going to trim this guy up as well, just so that we don't have quite so much sticking out there. All right. And I do like that. I think that works. I think that's just enough. And so I'm going to just make sure that's not too sticky. We're going to glue these guys down. And I think I did I picked up the wrong tag, but that's okay. We'll make sure that this works. Okay, so we're going to stick that guy in there, and then we're going to overlap with that one. And you'll notice that there's a little bit of string here. That is part of that tag. I don't have any string, but I did find some embellishing thread. I don't think that we have this in our catalog anymore. I think we are all sold out of this now. But I think it will work as an option color-wise for this. So we're going to just take some of this embellishing thread, and if it is a current product, then I will make sure to link it down below. But again, you can use any string or any thread that you have that you might like that would go with this, just to sort of finish off this tag. And I'm going to trim that up here in a second. Okay, so we're going to use, again, thick 3D foam tape on this. we'll trim this up in just a second. All right, just like that. And then I'm going to take this right about there. Okay. All right. So we have this cluster now done. The next thing we have is our title, and this does have a stamp on it. Again, you could use, I'm just seeing if there was a sticker of any sort that you could use. I'm not seeing a sticker per se, but you don't really need that. You can just do our getaway and then have your story down here, essentially. So what we're going to do is this is going to, I'm going to place this, and I'm going to take our stamp, and I am going to stamp this just because I want you guys to see the full layout as it was designed. I'm going to take this stamp, that's the curly stamp, and we're going to grab that and put it on a block. And I am using a 1 and 1.5 inch block, and I'm going to get my sapphire ink, which is the color they're using. I'm going to take my foam backer that's part of all of our stamp sets, and I'm going to put that underneath so that I have a cushion where that's going to go. And I'm going to then roughly place where I'm going to want my getaway, or our getaway, and make sure my foam pad is still there. I'm going to go ahead and season up my stamp just by rubbing it on my skin, and make sure my stamp's going the right direction because I want the arrow to point towards my picture. And I'm going to ink that up. And I'm going to just slide that out of the way and stamp it down, straight down, and lift up. Okay, and then I can replace our getaway. I'm going to just clean this with a stamp chamois, clean that up, and put it back on the carrier sheet so I don't lose it. All right, so that is, again, this I'm going to pop up on, I actually think I'm going to do thin 3D foam tape on this one. So just using multiple different levels of dimension by doing both thin and thick 3D foam tape. And we will just add a bit there and one more little bit here. Okay, and then we want the arrow and the words to kind of be related to each other, so I think right there. Oops, pull that guy out. And we have our getaway. So now we've got that piece. All right, so our last cluster is this cluster up over here in the upper left-hand corner. And with that one, we've got a passport, we have a camera, and we have a sticker, and then we have another tag. Now, that tag, we actually have stamped the come and away, right? We've got that, that stamp on there. So I'm going to just move this out of the way briefly, and we're going to go ahead and stamp this tag with papaya ink. So this is papaya paper, and I am going to stamp papaya ink. There are two sides to our paper, a dark side and a light side. I'm going to stamp this on the light side so that the ink, the papaya ink, will show up a little bit better and a little bit darker like it's showing here on the layout. So I just seasoned the stamp. Again, I tend to do that whether or not I've used the stamp or not. I'm making sure I'm getting good coverage because this is a nice big stamp. And I'm sorry if my head gets in the way here, but I'm trying to line it up. We're going to push down, close that up so I don't get my hand in it and make a mess. And I'm just holding it here so that I can get the ink. The longer you hold it, the more ink will seep into the actual paper. And with a big solid stamp like this, you want even pressure, and you want to hold it there so that you can get the best impression that you can. And that turned out pretty good. A little bit off, but looks pretty good. It's actually going to tuck behind something anyway, so we're all good there. Okay, so put this away again so I don't lose track of it. And we'll bring our layout back in again. All right, so we need our passport, our camera, and our come from away, and then we also need our compass that's a sticker. Again, we have a little bit of string, so we're going to take, again, that embellishing thread that I had, and we're going to cut some of that off. And we're going to put that in this one as well. So we'll trim that up once we get it on the layout. All right. The other thing you'll notice is that the camera does have some inking done on it, or some coloring making it brown. I just pulled out our earth brown blend, and to me that looked like either the medium or the light color. I think I'm going to start with the light, since I don't know exactly the color that they used, but I'm going to start with the light, and I'm going to just see if that looks good to me, and it actually looks perfect. So we're just going to color that in, make it look like leather on our camera here. And, you know, if you're really good at shading or really good at understanding how shading works, you can play around with these tri-blend markers and create lots of depth and shading. I'm only semi-competent at it, so I don't really think I need to do that for this particular situation, but if you are good at that, go ahead. You've got 3 colors in these tri-blend markers, and you can play around with them to add more shading and depth and dimension. All right, so we've got that colored. All right, so the come away with me is here, is the first layer of this. Then we have the passport, then we have the camera, and we have this sticker on the sticker sheet, which is the compass. And I'm going to do the same thing to the compass that I did to the travel sticker here. I'm going to take my anti-static pouch, and I'm going to take the off camera, going to make sure that we don't have any sticky left on that so that I can play around with placement. So that then will come in here, like so. Okay, so I think that all looks good, matches. We're going to pop this tag. You know what? I think this tag we're going to, no, we will. We're going to put it on 3D foam, thin 3D foam tape. So again, this is the bottom layer, so I don't want to pop it up too much. So I'm going to pop this on like that. We'll start there. And I'm just eyeballing placement, okay? I'm not giving you, you know, too many dimensions on this. I'm just saying, you know, take a look and eyeball the placement, right? Eyeball the placement for that. Okay, so then I'm going to put the passport down next, and I'm going to use thin on this one as well. And I'm actually going to make sure I put it at the bottom here. I want it, because this is going to overlap with this piece, and so I just want to not necessarily double up on the 3D foam tape there. So I think we'll just put some adhesive right there. And we'll get that guy. Like so. Okay, and then we have got the compass. Again, we'll do some thin 3D foam tape on that. Peeling off 3D foam tape is pretty boring, I know. And I think we'll do like so. That looks good. All right, so then we have our camera, which is the last one, and I think I'm going to do that one on thick 3D foam tape or standard 3D foam tape. Now I'm not going to do the journaling strips here that are in the middle because I need to write out my journaling, and I don't have that quite done yet. And I will get that done and finalized. All right, and then I think I'm going to just trim this guy up a little bit. I think that's just a little too long. And we have a finished layout. So again, hopefully everyone's sort of been following along. I know it is kind of hard to see with some of the glare of my lights, but hopefully everyone can see that we've got this layout, right? That layout, and our final are pretty close. Pretty close. I would say that there are some differences, some slight differences, but overall we have a pretty close layout to the picture that's here. We're missing one thing. I just noticed up here at the top, there's no place like here. So there's no place like here. There we go. We've got that. And again, that's another sticker. There's also a little heart sticker here. I think it's using one of these location heart stickers. So we'll grab those too, because we're missing those. And I'm going to again use my anti-static pouch to take off the adhesive on those. And we are going to put some 3D foam tape, and I believe this is thick 3D foam tape because I put that on the, thick on the picture itself. So in order for this to sit appropriately, I need to use thick here as well. So we're going to just put a little bit of foam tape on this, like so. And there's no place like here. right like that. And then we'll put the location sticker. Let's see, get the location sticker. Oh. I'm actually going to take, trying to decide how do I want to do this because I feel like this is too much 3D foam tape. Let me just see if I can make that work. All right, there we go. All right, so now I do think we're done. So we've got our cluster here, we've got our title, we've got our second cluster, and then we've got our third cluster plus our little title up there at the top. All right, well, I hope that you have enjoyed remaking the layout on page 9 of the January to March Close to My Heart catalog using the Are We There Yet paper. And if you're interested, all of the items are listed down below, including a link to my sketch if you are interested in getting that as well. And if you happen to like this video, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe as well. And I would love to see you back here again. Anyway, have a great day. Thanks for joining me.